Hello everyone, welcome to another video, welcome to another recording. I am slurring my words, sorry, had a lot to drink. No, but seriously, I am so happy that all of you are here with me, that all of you are here to indulge my madness. Oh my god, but no, I am so happy, so elated to have all of you here today. I realized greatly that, we are in the process of moving into a new year in this realm. It is, a call for festivus, a call for celebrations. Unfortunately, there is also a lot of things running around. I'm not talking about whores, I'm talking about, well, I am. Rona is her name. A spiteful bitch, but she is working overtime throughout the holiday season. She's not resting till she gets every one of you. So please, by all means, show her a warm welcome. Even workers need to work. But anyway, I am here, to speak something to you about something very quite interesting that I believe all of you will probably enjoy. First of all, it is the new holiday season. I hope all of you had a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful celebration. What is going on here? Hold on. Wait, this feels tilted. It's not the only thing, is it? Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. Let me try and cock this way. That might fit. No, too much. I don't know. Wait a minute. It's oh my god. It's not level. Wait a minute. Is that why this thing's been a mess? A muck? Wait, hold on. This is so bad. You know what? If Philip was here, I'd fire him. Oh my god. No, hold on. All right, I just don't want you, to see all the surprises I have on set here. Oh my god, earthquake! Oh my god, this is so unbecoming. But you know what? Had I the resources, I would definitely invest in, somebody who could, actually do this for me. Or perhaps I could do it myself. But, it is what it is. Hold on, just a quick adjustment. We are getting nowhere. Hold on, actually, that's not too bad. I just want to hurry up and do this. I thought everything was said. That's it. That's sort of it. I don't know. Is that's all right? Is that okay? Oh my god! Hi! Oh my god! I got to cut this out of the video. Too bad Philip isn't here again. Face me, please. Thank you. Oh my god, scrying is such a pain, but now I feel like this is even worse. I don't... You know what? Hold on. I'm so sorry about all this. Hold on here. Is that better? Is that worse? It depends who you ask, honestly. Ask Rona. She's happy. Who cares? Her life doesn't matter. But anyways, I am happy because we're going to talk about something that I find interesting. Now, recently, I don't know if all of you have noticed or not, but The Witcher, the second season came out, and I was so happy. I was like, finally, it came out, the bloody thing. So I've been waiting forever to properly divulge the things about you. So I hope all of you have seen it already. I'm going to talk a bit about that, and some other interesting things. So I'm trying to organize this into a proper thought, and it's going to be for New Year's. So all of you are happy. But honestly, I'm going to be a bit, amiss, and it's not very, festivus here, or whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, I don't really have too many companions who can just come to my lair to, give you guys a show worth watching. OnlyFans. But I am honestly happy and in the process of, getting some things together. So I believe the things I will talk about, I believe would be The Witcher. And if you remember, I was talking about Black Clover, an anime series that I was indeed watching a while back, and I am catching up on it, and it is almost over. And honestly, it is crazy, the amount of things that are happening in that anime right now. The animations are very good. You can sort of tell when it's going to, go crazy. But I appreciate, the freedom in which they apply magic to a certain degree. And believe it or not, I'm still waiting to see anything about it. But I believe the theory I had before about the main character, things like bloodlines, if I can remember correctly, because it's been a while since I made that video, I will hopefully be able to divulge the comparisons and see whether or not I was right, at least in terms of the theories behind it and how it would work in a, I believe, a normal circumstance. How will it work in my realm versus this one? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is The Witcher. So all of you know, Henry Cavill, Hunk, he plays The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia. And so, this one, it's more so about him and the girls bond together, what they're going through, where they're trying to go. So he's trying to seek a safe haven for this child who he got out of a pretty much a, opportune circumstance. He used the rule of surprise in order to pay back, in order to receive payment from His Majesty, and he went with this girl. And so, they were, of course, reluctant to a certain degree, but they cannot, disobey the law. It's what was founded, it's what has governed the kingdom for a long time. So, those of you who already know the synopsis, or do not, I highly recommend watching this. But, this is perhaps, I would say spoilers or not, but I think just to avoid any sort of things or whatever, he brings us somewhere, you learn more about, his personality, the witches, if there's anything left, who she is, the greater role she plays. And if you saw the ending of the first one, I believe, whatever happened to, I believe, whatever, what was her name? The female witch, the one that shoots all that fire and burns down the forest. You learn what happened to her, what happened to other constituents or whatever, all these things. So it's been out for a while. I would really love to just go into it, but through the benefit of the doubt, for those of you who are watching, who perhaps haven't seen it at all, I will perhaps go into it, because I do have friends that in fact watch this channel, and I don't want to spoil something for you. You know who you are, but I really hope that you did watch it. But there are some interesting things here. So I don't believe if I ever went into the tirade as to what a witcher is, but it sort of confirmed what I was talking before about things like chimeras. That was way back when. So witches are essentially chimeras. They are people whose blood was mixed with that of another creature, a darker creature, who was able to, give the victim enhanced strength, things like perception, even the ability to use magic to a certain extent. They were all essentially normal. But, this sort of, underground experiment, so to speak, sort of caused them to sort of change internally, and it allowed them to do what they do. So that's how the witches came into the picture. They are chimeras, essentially. Just in a general sense, they are people whose blood has been mixed with that of a magical entity or a creature of some kind, that it gives them certain abilities that are required to fight against certain beasts that normal people could not overcome otherwise. So in this season or whatever, you sort of learn a bit more about the Witcher, a bit more about the past. Believe it or not, they actually make references to the animated special that came out about the Witcher. I believe it's over an hour, almost 2 hours maybe, but it is a really good special, and I highly recommend it. Why? Because it goes into the past of the witches. It sort of shows the trials that they went through as children. Very dark, very gory shit. But the animations were very reminiscent of Castlevania, if you really enjoyed that. And that's what I really love about it. You sort of learn a lot more about the past, what happened, the person that looked after the witches, and the fortress that they do visit in the new season, that is the home of the witches. You see it sort of, fallen and in disrepair and disarray. And so the animated season sort of, talks to you about what happened that night. I believe that day in which this keep was assaulted. They mention it in the thing. It was a big thing. It was a huge sequence, but it was very well done, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So The Witcher came out. I was so happy about it. I was like, oh my God. And you know what? And I was going to talk to you about something in there, but now I'm concerned about spoilers. I would like to talk about something that I believe I really don't want to spoil the thing or whatever, But, but anyway, there's that, I suppose. If anything, I could perhaps call back to it. But whatever. Spoilers. If you don't want to see it, then go ahead. So anyways, this sort of goes in line with what I was talking about. In the story, it, rejoins Geralt again with his, surprise, Ciri. who he then, adopts sort of a fatherly role, sort of taking her to the wilderness, takes her to the fortress of the witches. There she meets the rest of the witches. They're a little bit whatever about her because she's a new face, and she's royalty or whatever. But she starts to show, signs of, determination. She's a lot more, after being with Geralt a long time, he rubbed off on her. He certainly did. And she sort of, learned from him a great deal. And so she wants to be a witch. She wants to be like a witch. So she goes through training. She learns how to wield a weapon. They even hunt a very dangerous monster together. There's one that even pursues her to a certain extent. And a lot of things happen. So this is sort of, happening in the background. Later on, the girl, I forget her name, I think it's Josefka, or something like that. I'm not sure. They show her again after what happens in the forest and everything else. Everyone assumes she's there because they can't find the body. She was actually taken by, I think it was Nilfgaard as a prisoner based on the traitorous mage or whatever that betrayed the Brotherhood, sort of take her into custody because she was serving the greater good of whatever governs her kingdom or whatever it be. And, she sort of takes this woman, and then you find out that she can no longer use magic, and it becomes a big hindrance. Later on down, they meet elves, and the head of the elves at this point is a woman who sort of adopted the role as a leader after the king who was with her at that time felt as though he has failed his class, so she took over, and she has magic, and she's rather powerful in her magical abilities. And so they sort of are taken as prisoners under the elves and things of that nature. They see a lot of things happening. The elves even have trouble procreating and things of that nature. So then afterwards, they are essentially taken to a camp where they speak a bit more. Josefka's trying to, I believe that's her name. She's trying to, win the freedom of her so she can just leave and go somewhere else. A lot of people are still looking for her, can't find her anywhere. Geralt is looking for her, can't find her anywhere. And these elves sort of take them to this ritual site because they believe they could be the key to attaining their dreams or belief, whatever it be. And so, they go to a forest and stuff like that. The prisoner, the traitorous mage, Josefka, and this elfin chick, they all end up inside of this hut that I believe belonged to some myth that I believe lived within this land. An older woman, a witch of some kind, who was able to give them whatever they wanted in return for something. She was a bargaining. She was a jinn or a demon of some kind. Unfortunately, that's just how it worked out. And so, two of the three people, everyone but Josefka, essentially got their wishes and things of that nature after they, traded in whatever, trying to, so she's trying to, get her power and everything else. And what ended up happening very later on in the series is so you start to learn about the identity of this girl. Everyone wants her, even the demon lady. But, she's very special in that case because apparently who she is sort of is something very powerful and very important. The huge obelisk that she took down in the first season was actually a marker that acted as a gateway to allow certain creatures to pass into the world. They talk about this huge event in which several worlds collided together, and one world collided with the witches' world. That's how these monsters sort of came through, and that's where they came from. And so the need for the witches sort of was birthed from that point. And so she's very important, she even becomes possessed. This whole thing, people die, even people whatever, and it gets very insane. But I really don't want to go into the whole mystery of the movie. But what is interesting is about what happened with Josefka. The reason why she wasn't able to use magic is because she used a taboo type of magic. In her realm, there exist certain laws that come into place that govern the rules of chaos. Chaos essentially is what allows these mages to have their magic and to practice it to a certain degree. But everything has a cost to a certain extent. And if you're not careful, you could suffer from it. And unfortunately, to use something like fire magic is something that is so taboo because it is something that consumes. It is a type of magic that just sort of takes over everything. And it sort of goes forth and it sort of burns everything to a crisp. And, the amount of power you draw from chaos, however, grand or the type of magic power you use, that comes at a cost or a price. And so what Josefka did in the forest essentially cost her to lose her magic. Now, in terms of laws or whatever, if you remember correctly, and if you've watched my videos in the past, you realize that laws are very important and these things sort of govern the world that we live in today. So when it comes to something like magic, the fact that, she did something that was taboo, that she wasn't supposed to do, at least at that level of power, caused her magic. It's sort of, in order to, I guess, maintain a balance, so to speak. I believe the laws that govern the world of chaos, the universe, was like, well, you can no longer have magic because you've drawn up too much power, too destructive. The world had to sort of correct itself unless a equal price was met in order for her to, theoretically reattain her power, which she does after she essentially puts her life on the line for someone else. So in a certain way, magic was sort of taken from her for her to live a normal life, but it was a big deal. In order for her to attain magic, she would have to offer a, I'm not sure that's even the right word. She had to sort of offer something that was equal. I believe that mattered just as much in order for her to reattain what it is that she lost. And so she committed an act or did an act that would have cost her her life intentionally. Like, she pretty much slit her wrists to do this ritual thing to save this girl. And in doing that, in sacrificing her life for, I believe, the greater good or whatever, the universe sort of, chaos or whatever it is, saw her action as a way of, giving her back the magic that she lost. She was essentially cursed from having done that. And so, unbeknownst to her, doing what she did in a desperate act to save someone's life by using her own life force, essentially allowed her to reattain her power. Now, I would say, did she use a type of blood magic? Possibly. It is a type of magic that isn't essentially bound by, I believe, terrestrial laws in a certain sense. It's sort of more spiritual in nature. So when someone sheds blood or offers up blood to anything, unbeknownst to them for any type of ritual, that is typically a high price and is very valuable to whatever governs the realm. So that sort of blood acted as a catalyst in place of currency in order for her to attain the power that she once lost. And so she was able to retain it again. And this is, towards the end of the series. But that is very interesting. But anyway, spoiler over. I will no longer talk about it or whatever about The Witch or anything else. If you haven't seen it already, I highly recommend you watch it. Okay? So you would have to fast forward it through that whole point till you got to this point. So the second thing I will talk about is, I believe, Black Clover. Hi! Anime! Oh God, I feel so, blah. I don't have anything special, no editors, anything else. It's ridiculous. But in Black Clover, I started watching it again. And my theories as to what, Asta was the main character, the sort of grimoire he has or whatever. Everyone is saying that it belongs to Licht. This, the evil person, the head of the, Midnight Sun or whatever. It belonged to him. It's a lot happens. People get new tricks, new abilities. They meet a new person who's able to use trap magic. And it is absolutely a lot of what happens in this anime. And and honestly, I for one am not really in a rush per se, but I would like to keep these videos at least to about half an hour. Until I have someone else to talk to, perhaps make it something a bit more interesting. You probably won't even care if I talk about it. In a fair sense. But honestly, Black Clover, it is an anime, for those of you who don't know, it is an anime about wizards or witches. They have books that they go into that give them their powers or that allow them to cast new spells. The main character can't use magic, but it gets a grimoire anyway that has weapons in it that are able to, I believe, overcome certain magical, things, and is even able to, I believe, give the user certain buffs, or I guess technically debuffs, to aid him in battle in order to, I believe, make it fair. Now, I could go into this whole spiel about it, but the point is, it is very good, and, what he has inside of him essentially comes out to a certain degree. He talks to it once. He had a Naruto moment, and that's pretty much what came out of it. And so a lot of things are happening right now. A person died, very tragic. You'll probably know who it is if you haven't seen it already. And, and there's a lot of things happening. So magic is everywhere. Now, I will say that everything that they're doing sort of falls in line to the theoretical laws of magic. The rituals that they're doing in this anime now ahead, which is what they're trying to do. The elves, I believe, are who the head of the Midnight Sun is essentially trying to kill all the humans, from what we understand, based on something that happened, I believe, several centuries ago. Unfortunately, they don't really show the humans attacking the elves, but it is insinuated that that's what they did. Now, I will probably believe that, we will end up discovering something else different that actually didn't happen at all. But it goes into this whole spiel, this whole thing, and it's this whole thing. But you know what? I want to change gears. I feel like this is boring now. This is boring now. I will no longer talk about Black Clover, whatever. Just see it, watch it. If you care enough, I will talk about it. But what I want to talk about is the absolute insane lunacy that's going on right now. People can't even go outside, because a certain someone said, well, no one should be outside, and to a certain degree, I understand it completely, but it's like, what do you want people to do? It's like we're what? It's like 2 years in, and we're still dealing with this bullshit. It's a thing we were dealing with before. They were like, well, we're going to give you this thing that's supposed to help, and hello, it's not helping. The guy admitted that doesn't really stop anything from happening anymore. It's just for you to take for whatever reason, because they assume it'll stop you from dying, which, hello, it hasn't really happened for everyone. Let's be real about it. This is mundane medicine we're talking about here. It's not magic. Magic works at a completely different level. So this is what happened, right? We go in 2 years in, we're still dealing with this, kerfuffle that we're dealing with. And now the third year, people are saying that we're going to reach the end of it. We're going out of it or whatever. Several new strands of, you know what I'm talking about, sort of appeared out of nowhere. Convenient, I know, right? It just came out of nowhere. And then now we're just supposed to accept it. Well, keep doing the same thing you've been doing. The leader of the nation said there is no federal answer for what this is doing, which means that there's nothing they can do to solve this problem. They can't solve this problem. They've essentially left it to every state, every person that lives here, to essentially take it upon themselves to do what must be done in order to survive this, upcoming, little season of what we have going on here. A lot of people are getting sick, and I hope everyone's doing fine and they're doing well. But also, you have to admit that this is rather ridiculous at this point. There's nothing interesting to watch on TV because other shows are the same thing. The celebrities have lost their mind. The View is utter garbage. Joy Behart is a chicken that just clucks and clucks all the time. Nothing worth mentioning. One side complains about the other. Hello. It's been the pastime of America for centuries. This nation was founded on conflict. There seems to be nothing else going on here in your mundane realm. And typically I try to avoid certain topics, things that people don't want to talk about. But honestly, it's New Year's, I believe, in a day or two. It's going to be New Year's, and this is all people are going to talk about. They're going to talk about there's so many people getting infected, whatever. You know what? Don't even talk about it. Just ignore it. People are sick. Happens every year. People have this thing. Do whatever you have to do to be safe and to be healthy during this holiday season. Because honestly, it is a bit of a downer. I exist in a different situation entirely. I can leave this realm whenever I please, to go to the other one. And I have a few times. And honestly, it's not any better. The family's bothering me. They're talking about suitors. They want me to find a partner, to marry and potentially continue the bloodline. But honestly, apparently they care nothing for what I believe, for what I like. And so I'm dealing with this sort of thing. The college is supposed to start, it is supposed to start technically already. But it was, I believe, postponed because, there was a professor was caught, I believe berating a hybrid outside of class in, I believe, the square, a few weeks ago. It made the news, believe it or not, because he believed that the hybrids were unworthy of being taught and that they shouldn't be allowed within the new school that I essentially opened with the followers of Pahalu, the temple that we are using it as a temporary place in order to create a school for the hybrids to go to, as well as any other majors. Some of the teachers, I believe, got into this issue with a hybrid or whatever. I don't know where this came from. And then, lo and behold, it wasn't even one of mine. It was one of the older teachers. So they were sort of trying to, I believe, goad the student to go to the original academy in order for them to have more funding for the academy and for the hybrids to engage or indulge the professors in this arcane tourney that they call a rite of passage, or I believe the rite of acceptance, or the proving, or whatever it is, to allow the student to be able to roll into this school as a legitimate student, as a hybrid. If you're a normal mage, a normal person, you can enroll normally and just fine. It's not even by much of an issue, okay? Because somehow something happened where some funds were being pulled from our side to favor the other one. I believe some misinformation happened, or believe some dirty dealings. Probably Gary, the asshole, sort of told some of our patrons, like, look, these guys really aren't on the up and up. Some of the teachers are very neurotic. I don't know what they're talking about. And so they were like, you know what, you should divert funding to this. And because no one does their proper research into this thing, some of our funding was pulled, but we are still going ahead with it. We have enough funding. So I believe keep the school open for a few months. We've already conducted a thorough investigation. Luckily, we had a few investigators on our side that saw this as malpractice, and they were sort of going through the laws that, govern our land to ensure that we were in the right, and we technically were when we decided to separate from the school. Kind of like how the country is doing right now with itself, apparently. National separation, whatever the hell it's called. I won't get into that. And so, in my realm, there's this whole thing happening where the students don't even know where to go at this point. They're being told that the hybrids are exclusively only supposed to go to the older school. And I said, no, they're supposed to come to where we are, And so I have the recruiters out, the promoters of our school, things of that nature. They don't have to go through this tourney thing. Because guess what? The other school was like, you don't have to do that. Just come in. We're going to teach you some classes. You don't have to do, those are just rumors. But guess what? They're not. Because as soon as you go in, part of the test that they tell you is essentially combat. They're trying to sort of get you to sort of, commit these acts of violence in the name of, you attaining more knowledge and control of your powers. But it's not the way to do it. A few hybrid students, believe it or not, came out brutally battered and maimed with a couple of their limbs broken through some of these heinous acts of tourneys and sort of lesson play or whatever the hell it is. It was a huge fiasco. The parents are upset about it because now they're like, we don't know where to go. They assume that my school's also aligned with them because they spread some rumors. It's not true. It's not what's going on, okay? People are lying about what's happening in the other school, okay? I have students there. I had this poor girl. Her name is Cynthia, okay? She is a hybrid. She allowed to talk about it because this made the news, so her name was everywhere. Cynthia was lied to and told her she could go to this school without the fear of getting a tourney or whatever. And she says that, she did classes normally like everyone else did. But she noted that she wasn't in a class with regular majors. These were all strictly hybrids. So it's already a segregated course, which we didn't really agree with either. Okay? It was already segregated. And so, she went to, I believe, 2 classes. And then when it came for recreation, I believe the 3rd class or whatever it is, they essentially led them to a giant room and had them all fight each other and said that this is a combat class, something you have to learn or whatever it is. But there was essentially no real safeguards put in place to disallow any student from drastically harming the other person. Because believe it or not, when they enter combat, the sort of animal instincts take over. They're not being shown how to properly control the beast part of the hybrid. And so the students are being let in with false pretenses, and they are essentially being hurt by these so-called professors that are not looking out for their well-being. It is insane. I don't know why this is happening. Some of the parents found out, they were outraged. But the school, because they have backing or whatever it is, they try to disavow the parents. So I don't know what the hell is going on. So I reached out to them. I said, look, we don't do that here. Like they saw medical treatments. We have some professors that deal in theoretical or hybrid anatomy or genealogy and treatments or whatever it is. They are essentially treating students right now. But Cynthia was crying. She was heartbroken. On top of that, the hybrids right now were normal kids at first. They can't even use magic now because they were, victimized or whatever by this sort of hybrid thing that's going on. It's sort of like a drug or something else. And then apparently there's news, also rumors saying that someone is out there deliberately changing mages into hybrids with some sort of dark magic and types of blood rituals. I don't know why they are doing this, but I am absolutely disgusted. And I hope all of you die. I hope all of you die in a horrible way. I hope your asses get railed and ripped apart by the largest dick ever. I hope all of you get routed out from the inside. I do it myself, but I'm not in contact, Social distancing. Oh my God, but I'm sorry, but that's the whole tirade, but that's what's happening right now. So, honestly, I'm trying to not think about it. Honestly, The world is only as bad as we perceive it, and it is only really as bad as we allow it to be. If you want something different, be different. Be that different thing. Not everything has to be doom and gloom. Not everything has to result to a war. You can always just say no, and that's the end of it. You know, talk to somebody else. If you need an olive branch, I'm here. Fuck you! I don't need rings. I don't need rings. Why? Because I'm upset. I will say, though, I got this as a present. An hourglass. You know, to mark the end of my life. It's running quick. I know, it's a whole thing. But, you know, like I said, try to be yourself. Be kind to others, to your pets, your animals, your brothers you keep locked in a cage. That you remember that we are the masters of our own destiny. Nothing will happen unless we allow these certain things to happen. I am here in resistance and in love and in understanding. I apologize, this is a bit of a downer. I didn't want it to sort of go this way, but it's sort of just what happened. I am here for you. Pahalo is here for you. Remember that on this channel, we seek to make the mundane magical. And if you're practicing, make sure it is in safety, whatever it is. Make sure that your candles, if you're not using them, are blown out. These are real candles here. Make sure that you are studying, that you are reading well, that you are practicing, you know, your incantation, because it is very important. You have to be able to talk efficiently. Make sure you memorize your spells, your craft, your ingredients for whatever it is. And that you remember that nothing is ever as bad as it seems.